everyone. I'm Zara Durrani. Welcome back to another exciting and inspiring episode of The Inspired Life Vancouver. It's been such an honor and pleasure bringing you some amazing locals who are making a positive impact in the communities, whether through entertaining you or starring in big shows. Right now, joining us right now is someone who's been in almost everything that's filmed here in Vancouver or Toronto. You may know him from his last show, The Coroner. I was a big fan of his show, Continuum, and the list of his IMDb credits is just like endless. I'm talking about none other than Roger Cross. Roger, thank you so much for joining, for making time for us.
Thanks for having me.
I know you're starting something soon that we're not going to talk about, but you're a busy guy.
Yes.
So, wow.
Yes, we managed to get a SAG waiver, so we're allowed to shoot this thing. So we're
Yeah.
going to go shoot. So it'll be great, and I'll talk about it when I'm allowed to talk
Yeah,
about it later.
now we're not going to talk about it right now, but
Yes.
today you're here
Yes.
to talk about your journey, your career. You've had this amazing career as an actor, not just working in Canada, but also in the US, and literally one of the careers that people would love and die to have.
Okay.
So with everyone, we talked about this earlier.
Yeah.
I like to hit the rewind button and talk about your journey. Now, you were never someone who was like, hey, I'm going to get out there, be on screen, and act. That was never really in the plans. You fell into this.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, I was one of those really smart kids that, skipped grades, and people thought he's going to be a lawyer, doctor, that sort of thing. That was the trajectory. I'm from Jamaica. And then moved here when I was 10 years old. And it was on the way here that, I first time I got on an airplane and I was like, this is kind of fun. Back when they let you go into the cockpits, and I was like, wow, they give you little wings and you got to see what was going on. I thought that was so fascinating, what was going on in the airplane. So think nothing of it. Later on when they start, what are you going to do for a living? And you do all those, aptitude tests to say what you should do. And they have all these different things that were listed there, and I'm kind of like, okay, all that stuff's interesting, very technical, but it's not fun. So then I'm like, I want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
And so I started researching that, and if it's not military, then you can go to certain, but then my mom would never want me to get a degree, so Trinity Western University, I can go there, I can get a degree at the same time as I get my aviation license, and things like that. So that's what I did.
So you are smart. You are very book smart. I can imagine you look very elegant in like a uniform and one of those pilots' uniforms.
Well, thank you. We had our uniform with our tie and our little things on it, so it worked. And hi, Loki came for a visit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my original career, to be a commercial pilot. And it was, but then in the 90s, of course, we had a bit of a recession. And so there were a lot less jobs for young pilots. And it was just, I was like, okay, while I was in town, I was working different jobs, and someone said, you used to do like martial arts and you were a wrestler and stuff. They need some guys to do stunt work on 21 Jump Street.
That was a great show.
Yes.
I watched that show even growing up in Pakistan, like such a fan of like Johnny Depp, that show, and then it was like, wow, I never even knew there was a city called Vancouver until, this is what, and that's how you got your start.
That's what I did. So I did that, and it was a lot of fun to do some stunts on there, and they're like, oh, you have a real natural thing about you. I'm like, yeah, this is fun, but it's not a real job. I'm a kid from Jamaica, this is not a real thing. And so then I was like, oh, okay. In my spare time, I'm like, I really enjoyed it. So I went to Breck Academy and studied acting at the school, and it was great. We had a great time there, and but it was still just for fun.
Yeah, because you're like, I can't believe that you can earn a living just having fun.
Yeah, and so I was there, and then I went for an open call with a friend of mine that said, oh, you should come and check this out. So you're active today.
Loki is like, he's doing the stunts off camera with Tiara.
Oh, yes. Some great off camera happening.
What an amazing and lucky break that you got, because I think any actor, I really think hearing your story, this was in the cards. Like, this is your destiny to be a performer. So you went to this audition with your friend
Yeah.
just for the fun of it,
Sure.
not even thinking anything of it, with no acting experience, no background.
Well, I went to Breck, and they're like, oh, sometimes, go to auditions, try things out, see what it's like, and this would be an easy one to go to.
My dog is in love with your shoes. We're gonna have to get Roger a new pair of shoes
Love it.
after we're done.
All right, here we
Look,
go.
he is gone. Okay. So you give yourself a year.
Yes.
I was talking to Fiona Forbes. We had her on the show. I think when it's people's destiny to do something, even if your plan was so different, she was going to become a lawyer. And her dad just said, hey, why don't just for fun you try this, and it's just a fun experiment, just an experience.
Yeah.
And then boom, leads to her doing a live television show. And I feel it's the same thing with you. And you've had this massive success. So you give yourself a year. What happens in that year?
In that year, I came back. I auditioned for a show that I loved called Wise Guys. And I ended up booking it. And in this block, I was working with Billy D. Williams, Oliver Platt, and I was like, oh my God, this is
Legends.
incredible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I'm like, this young kid in this school, I'm driving a Porsche, I'm doing the whole bit, he's a bit of a gangster, all that sort of thing. But it was such an amazing experience working with these powerhouse men and learning and watching them work and just gleaning everything you can. And Billy D, he kind of helped me a little bit too, because it was one of those things where I was being there with a tough kid and we're doing a thing, and this scene where I get thrown out and I'm freaking out and I'm gonna kill you, man, blah 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 blah. And he's like, afterwards he's like, Roger, I can, like Billy D. I don't do that. But he was like, I can tell you're a good kid. And I'm like, thank you, sir. Whatever. And he's like, well, when gangsters are going to do something and they say they're going to do it, they say it and they just say it. They mean it. I was like, okay, all right. So the next thing we did, I was freaking out and then boom, and I'm just like, you're dead. And it just got left. And it was kind of like, boom, just like say it, mean it. And I was like, okay, so he taught me to just be calm in certain things. And it was, that's a lesson there that I learned. And then just from there, you just continue to learn everything. I mean, I did a theater sports workshop and did some of that to work on improv, did writing workshops just for, see what that angle of things, just work on things, try things just to see.
That's so truly amazing, and it's almost like you're getting paid to get coached, and you're having fun and driving these fancy cars and talking about Wise Guys. Another one of the shows we got in Pakistan.
Yeah.
We literally had 2 channels.
Yeah.
And once we started getting more shows, Wise Guys was one of the shows that I watched. Like, iconic, with a huge following around the world. So you
really
got
did.
So literally things you were getting prepped, through little seeds,
True.
these wins, you were getting prepped for something bigger that was on the way. Like, how truly amazing, like, you were on even X-Files.
I did.
I was
You know what?
a huge X-Files fan.
I think
Massive.
I have an X-Files record. I did 5 different episodes as 5 different characters on X-Files.
Oh my Lord!
Even when they came back recently, and it was a joke. Like, Chris Carter was directing that, the pickups, some of the pickups we did, and he's like, "Well, if we come back, what are you gonna do on our next thing?" And I'm like, "You tell me. I will be there." It was great.
Would you like change up your look a little bit, or you're just like do different?
Each season, I did look different. Like,
Yeah.
Each season there would be a different character. Like, the first time I did it, he was just like, this clean cut military dude, just kind of like doing this thing. And then the next season he was basically still another soldier, but I would look different. But acting is acting, and that's what sometimes people forget. And if I'm playing a different character and people are watching it, they're not gonna go, hey, they'll buy it as long as it's not too blatantly this, if I'm not doing the same thing, they will buy that I'm a completely different person, just playing a role.
That's amazing. We were talking earlier before we started rolling about you working on Planet of the Apes. Like, your career, I keep referencing to all these amazing projects that you worked on that, for example, that was filmed here.
Yeah.
But millions of people around the world watching these shows, whether it was the Wise Guys or X-Files or Planet of the Apes or Continuum. What does that feel like, knowing that your work gets to be seen whether in all these different homes or cinemas around the world, and all these eyes get to see your performance? Do you feel that pressure ever, or do you just don't focus on that?
Honestly, I really don't think about that.
Yeah.
I never really thought about that, but you're right. That is what happens. No, I don't think about it. It's literally, I'm doing the work and I'm in this scene. Even like here, we're engaged with each other. We're talking to each other. We're in this together, and I'm talking. And we're doing this here. I don't know how many people are going to watch it or anything like that, and I never really worry about it or think about it. I just kind of it's going to be what it's going to be, and I'm here. I'm doing my thing.
Well, I think it's super cool. I will be
That's
the
awesome.
one clapping for you, hollering for you, and it's great to see people I know really rise up. I think I started getting familiar with your work when I did my first show, Life in Salazar. I interviewed you at Vancouver International Film Festival. They had an event at Chin Chin.
Chin Chin.
Yes. That's where we met, or maybe we met at TIFF before, something like that.
Yeah.
So tell me about working on Planet of the Apes. What was that like?
Let's see. That first week, we literally went up a mountain like this steep with gear. The first day, the second AD came to us and laughed. He goes, "You guys want to know how many times you went up that thing? We must have gone up that thing about 20 times in one day,
Where?
just over and
Where?
over."
What
It was
mountain?
out in Coquitlam, and it was this really steep thing. They literally built steps. But then it had rained, so they all washed away. So we're sloshing up these things and in this battle and ducking and jumping and all that, and over and over and over. Yeah, I think it was 20 times before lunch, and then after lunch we went and did it again. So it was
carving up.
It was. We definitely didn't need the gym for that first week. It was just insane, but it was so it was fun. It was great. Right, it was hard at times. Don't get me wrong. We were sometimes.
But you knew you were working on something epic.
Yeah, it was something epic, and we had a great time with it. And of course, it looked amazing.
And what was your training like for something like that? Did you get a trainer, or did you train yourself? Because knowing that obviously they have all this special effects and stuff, and all the. You guys wear suits and all of that for that. But did you do anything for yourself prior to that?
I didn't have to wear the suit because I was human in it. I was one of the soldiers trying to kill them. Not good. But I've just always kept myself in shape. So I've always trained. And so it was nothing like that. It literally was just, all right, boys, let's go. You're going up the hill. And so, I didn't know we were going to be doing it that many times. And didn't realize it was going to be so slippery and wet and muddy and stuff. But it obviously added texture and layer, and it looked fantastic on film. And so
amazing, brilliant. So let's talk about Continuum, the show I binge watched that I know has this crazy following, this cult following, and I literally couldn't stop watching this show. It really sucks you in. There's the writing, the actors, you're amazing in it. All these scenes in Vancouver. I first didn't know it was filmed here when I was watching it. And then I was like, I know that person, I've interviewed that person. Oh, I know that alley, this is here. What was that like working with so many of your peers?
It was awesome. Simon created a great show and also created a great environment and put together a great group of people that I'm friends with to this day and love those people. And it's nice when you go to work and you're comfortable and happy to be there. There's no tension, there's no stress. You're just there to do your job, there to do your work. It was a great group of people. We could rely on each other and have some fun with each other. I was messing with Omari the first few days and just playing tricks on him, and Lobo, of course. And he was kind of like the whiny bad guy. But some of those scenes where you'd be getting into it and throwing him around, all of a sudden he'd be like, "Yo, Rod, take it easy." I'm like, "Oh, okay, sorry." I'm like, "You're little, it's okay, sorry." No, but it was just one of those things, right?
You're like, how does the air feel?
Yeah.
I'm joking. No, he's lovely.
He's awesome. He's awesome. But yeah.
That's amazing. Like, I was watching some clips from on YouTube from the show, and I think in the beginning, the lighting when they're introducing your guys' characters, like you're coming in and you're walking, it's so like intense. I'm like, wow, like knowing you and knowing how happy and jolly you are. But I know you obviously normally the people, but I know like normally the people who are the most fun and happy-go-lucky in like real life, they're really good at playing those darker characters. Like, would you say like that? Because on camera, I'm like, damn, Roger, wow.
That is funny because I've had situations where I've showed up and people are like, "I wasn't sure what to expect. I thought you'd come in and you'd be really intimidating and mean." And I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not."
I think like since the moment I met you, like you're like smiling, that laugh. You're always just so happy and so positive. Like always bringing in great energy into the room.
Yeah.
So tell me about like working on the show. You have like this great following, this great fan base. Like whenever I go on these YouTube videos, watching all these clips, like all these fans, commenting, and they're just like, "Oh my God!" What did that feel like, knowing that all these people? Because it was one of the top shows in the world.
Oh, it was great, syndicated. Yeah, it's syndicated all over the world, and it's very fulfilling when people appreciate your work, and so I don't ever lose sight of that. I appreciate the fans commenting and giving their opinions, and there'll always be different opinions, but overall people loved that show. They loved watching it. A funny story about that show.
Yes.
So we showed the first episode at the local Comic-Con, and so we were there, and I brought my son at the time, and he was, I forget how old he was very young, my older son at the time, but he was like he was young, maybe 5 or something like that. And they showed clips of it, and they showed the scene where I show up and then I beat up the cops and that sort of thing, and I think nothing of it. And afterwards my son comes and he's like, "Dad, you beat up a cop." And I was like for perspective, I'm like, "It was just pretending, buddy." And it was
But there were some of those scenes that I was like, this is pretty intense. I was seeing some of the, I think it was like a dagger or a sword or something, like in the back alleys, the way you're going. I was like, "Whoa, Roger, look at you."
Yeah, it was great. And Kimani was our stunt coordinator, and we came up with some great stuff, and we just, all the different, through all 4 seasons of that, just, they loved Travis being the big bad dude and throwing people around, and and Rachel was amazing. Rachel Nichols, she was game for anything. She had a great stunt double, but she's like, "Oh, if I can do it, I'll get in there." And she'd want to jump in there, like, "You sure?" She's like, "Yeah." So I'd be throwing her around and stuff, and she was game for some of that stuff. She was a badass girl. Oh, can I say that? Sorry.
She is a rock star.
She is. And so it was, all of us, it was so much, it was such a family in a sense.
But there's something so special about I grew up watching Quantum Leap. There's something so special about these time traveling and, the sci-fi bit. Yeah. I think there is like a kid inside all of us that likes the idea of like this alternate realities, what could have been if you could go back. And
I think humanity, period. Yeah, it's kind of like what you would have done, like invest in property in Vancouver or LA. Like that sort of thing. If you could go back in time.
Where I could have put my money in. Now, what I know now.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That sort of thing. But what was great, and and Simon's what he said is, look, some of the things that he put, like at the time, they talk about a watch that would monitor everything, and that they could input signals in it, and they could read all your vitals and all these things. This is long before an Apple Watch. Sure enough, years later, the Apple Watch is around, and one of the things in one of the episodes that they played with was the fact that if they can, get signals from you, they can actually transmit things to you. Want to stop them from transmitting signals to, for example, control a crowd or make a crowd go crazy or knock you out or different things like that. So he's taking it to the nth degree, but it's not far off. Who says you can't? You never know. And so I love that it touched on reality, and also that the people who started off as the villains, our characters, we were the bad guys, but we're like, no, we're not the bad guys. We're just trying to tell people wake up.
Yeah.
Like the government controls your life. They control everything you do, and you really are not free. You're slaves to the system, and you don't even know it. And so the villains actually become the good guys
which was such a shocker, and that's why the writing in every episode, it just like takes you that I was like, oh my God, I can't. I was one of those people who's like up at like 2 a.m. I'm like sitting there eating my popcorn, like, and what happens next? What happens? Awesome. I can't believe this season is over. No.
Yeah. See, so it worked, but I love that. It wasn't just cookie cutters, as you said. It was well written, well thought out, and the journey through each season. It's just too bad it got cut short in a sense. But we had a blast on that show.
And all the performances are just so amazing. Like, for example, Omari, I know him from like 10 million years ago. Oh, okay. And I was like, wow, you're doing such a great job. Like, such a great job. But like so many amazing local actors. Let's talk about the coroner. Wow. I think I had just left Canada or gotten back to Canada, and I saw you and Sarinda, like everywhere your faces, like bus stops, like big posters, like just, social media, like what an amazing show. And obviously like with your physical appearance, but like sitting here next to you, I'm like, yeah, if you weren't an actor, I think you could play, I believe you as a cop.
Okay.
And like you you do such a great job in that show. So amazing. Again, like congratulations on all the success of that show. Tell us about the work. It was not filmed in Vancouver. It was filmed in Toronto.
We shot that in Toronto.
So what was that like?
It was great. It was terrific. We actually even shot through COVID, which was a really weird. We shot the first season, and then COVID hit, so then we were kind of like, oh, what's going to happen? And so then there were a bit of a delay. Of course, everything shut down. And then we're like, okay, we're going to come back with all these protocols in place, masks and, distancing and all that. Except when you're in a scene with somebody, there's not much social distancing.
Was there any fear, like, on set? Like, I guess if you're filming during COVID, like, but did you guys stop filming and then restart? Or
we finished our season actually, and then interestingly enough, I was in New York doing Law and Order. Before they'd announced it, and we know for a fact now, like in hindsight, someone when I was out there had COVID because there is a young lady that was just wrecked, and then they brought her into the green room, said, "Can she just rest here?" We're like, "Okay," and she was, she was acting up, and a few days later, I started feeling wrecked. So it was a thing that we didn't even know was happening until March, and I was actually in Atlanta shooting MacGyver at the time, and we shot the Wednesday, Thursday, and it was, I saw some people, I'm like, these people are overreacting with these big masks and all these things on. People had like full protective masks on, including the medic, which probably should have been my first hint that something was wrong. And he's like, well, listen, if you look at the numbers, if 1 in every 100,000 people have it, still a lot of people. I'm like, that's true. And then we shot the we shot the Thursday, Friday, and everyone's like, okay, see you Monday, because I was doing, I was supposed to be there for another 2 weeks, I think. And Saturday morning, Studio shut us down, so you gotta go. So I'm like, okay. So I flew back to LA at the time, and then we're like, okay, so what's gonna happen? So we weren't sure. So I actually came up to Vancouver, and I was with my family, and we actually enjoyed our time together. It was actually one of the first time I had that much downtime to just really just be with my family and just be with the boys and and just hang out. And then
Wait.
they're saying, but Coroner was going to go back.
Yeah.
We're coming back, but they were going to push it back a little bit. And then somehow they worked out the protocols and said, okay, well, we're going to be back in August. And I'm like, okay, all right. So
That's when everyone was like, hallelujah, we're going to work again.
Yeah.
Because I was so terrified because our work is around people.
Yes.
And a lot of people in close proximity to each other.
True.
And you're right up in there, like everyone's squished and you're
Yes.
right there. There was so much fear.
There was a lot of fear.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think our crew, and we had full open discussions about it. And then, people stayed in their pockets, if you will, and stayed with their group. So you knew what would happen. And of course, everyone wore full protection. And except for when we're in the middle of the scene, you can't do it. But we were tested regularly. A little too much. I hated that.
Yeah. Clean my
it-
boogers.
and if you get the good people, they're fine. But some of the people, like, they go right
I
up
know.
in there, and it's like,
One person actually made my nose bleed. I was like, no joke. And they're like, we just want to make
geez.
sure, and there were times I was literally tested like 7 times a week or something. You're just,
It's ridiculous. Yeah, and there was not on this, but I did a movie late during the off season with this one lady, and I said literally, that nurse will not ever touch me again because she literally was trying to, like, I don't know what she was trying to do, and she did make a few people nosebleed. She was a nurse. She was mean. She was mean, and I'm like, that lady cannot come near me. Like, yeah, literally, I would say, no, someone else. Because it's like, I don't need to try to go to work with my eyes watering. And,
I know. Isn't it a blessing that now we're going on set? I mean, obviously, I'm so grateful that things are getting slowly back to normal and we can sit like this.
Yeah.
We're both, vaccinated, and to work again and to be on a set around people and you're seeing their faces, and when you see people smile without a mask and hugging, like the camera op, the DP, hair and makeup, like people you worked with before.
Yeah.
I felt that was something I missed a lot, was seeing someone's face.
Well, it's always funny too, because when you've seen this,
Yes.
some people for months, and then they remove it. Sometimes the bottom doesn't match the top. You ever seen that? You're right. Like, sometimes you expect certain things from people. Some people are just like, that's
You're like,
not the person I expected.
I had something
At a different,
else in mind.
yes,
Yeah.
No, but it is important, and it was great to be back at work. And we shot the next 2 seasons, and we had one scare, and it turned out to be okay. But other than that, following the right protocols and just being responsible, we managed to make it through, and we shot 4 seasons.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Tell me about some of your highlights from The Corner.
Highlights
Like,
from the
which was such an interesting show when I heard that CBC is doing this, and I was like, wow,
Oh,
CBC's going dark, like edgy. I love it. This is cool.
It was great. Yeah, they went for it. They let us do it, and Adrian and Morwin and all the executives, they were fantastic, and the writing team. That's what made it fun. We had some talented people, and they were still very open to all our input, and we were able to collaborate. And it was a very collaborative effort, and but interestingly enough, it was my same crew that I shot Dark Matter with just before that.
Yes.
So we literally, a group of us went from Dark Matter straight into.
Oh, wow.
and
So it's like
Corner
your
was
family.
next. So yes, so it really helps when you have this great group of people that you've worked with now for 7 years, and going on. It was fantastic. Certain comfort level you know what to expect from each other, and that's what was great about it, having those people around that you could rely on and depend on and just hang with. You're away from your family and things like that, so it's great to be around people that you love. And Andy and I got along like with thick as thieves, and so we just be able to kick it on or off time, downtime, etc., etc. So it was a lot of fun.
What would you say is one of, like, you can give like a few, like a 2 or 3 things that you love about being an actor?
Oh, geez, what I love about being an actor. I love being around good people. I love great energy. So my favorite thing is when we're in a scene together, a really intense, deep scene, and we lock in and connect with each other, and we can have this great energy and playing off each other. That there's nothing better. There's nothing better than when you're in this very passionate or intense scene, and you're in it together.
Present and open.
And you're there, there's nothing better. I think that's my favorite part of this whole thing. Business side is the least favorite part. So you have people take care of that, and you hear the things and you go, okay, or whatever. But once that's out of the way, the actual work, that's what I love about the whole thing. I mean, I love that I've been able to travel all over the world, do some amazing things, see some amazing things, met some amazing people.
Okay, name drop some cities. Make us jealous. Make us jealous.
I said I was blessed. The first gig I did, was in China. I mean, I've shot in Bulgaria. I've shot in all over Europe. Various locations there, and just all over the U.S., New Mexico, and all over. It's been quite the ride. It's been quite the ride.
And if I must say so, with the amount of success that you've had, you seem so grounded, Roger. And I'm not saying this to like puff you up because you're sitting here on the couch, okay. But just from my interactions with you over the years, and you seem so grounded, so humble. Like you've led shows, you are, flying around with all, like seeing your fans around the world, going to all these like Comic Cons and expos and all this. You seem so grounded. What would you say grounds you?
I think the way I was brought up, the way my family was, and it was also for me, and I think going back to that trip to China and having that near-death experience, I've learned to not sweat the small stuff. And even as a pilot, you have to prioritize things. And when I remember at one point I was doing circuits on this with this, first time I'd flown the Piper, an Arrow, and this retractable gear, and getting practice on it, and my throttle cable snapped full open. So I literally had to go up and do an emergency landing and the whole bit and stuff. So you learn to be calm and take care of what you have to take care of. Otherwise, you're gonna die.
So your nervous system, or like you've learned to deal with stress really well.
I think I've learned to deal with stress, and also I appreciate what I have, and I appreciate others, and I appreciate what other people do, and so I don't think you just see people and they act a certain way and they do certain things, and I'm like, this is unnecessary. I think, everyone's special, everyone's good, and if I like you, I like you. If we're good people, we're good people. We can hang. If not, I don't want to have anything to do with you. So I just feel that I love people, and I love being around others and sharing with people, and I think
Have you had any moments on set? I'm sure, like when I look at your work, I'm sure you must have 10 million stories to tell. Like, it's hard to just pick one or two that you were like, 1 or 2 moments that you were like so starstruck. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I get to work with this person. Can't believe this is my life. Like, have you had those moments?
Well, I said one of the first things that when I came out, Billy D. Williams. I mean, at the time, Billy D. Williams was the man back then. For the black community, Billy D. Williams was, he was Lando Calrissian, and also he was kind of like the Marlboro man back then. You know what I mean? He was the man, right? Colt 45, right? He likes history. So I remember I was like, oh my God, I'm working with him, and I've had the pleasure of working with Guillermo del Toro, on The Strain. That was incredible to I'm being directed by Guillermo del Toro. You know what I mean? It was great. Oliver Stone, World Trade Center. Got to work with that man, with Maggie Gyllenhaal and everyone else. And it's so many. I've had some great experiences. Sharon Stone, I got to play her husband in Beautiful Joe. So I've been around some terrific people.
So when, for example, you're working with Sharon Stone, how do you not get like starstruck and just treat her just like a normal person? For example, for me, like a couple of days ago, I met Shannon Lee, and it was I think I can normally hold my own when I'm like interviewing people or meeting people, but there was something about her and her dad, like Bruce Lee. And growing up with my cousins and my brothers, and how much we idolized Bruce Lee. Like, I didn't grow up playing with dolls. I grew up playing with like fake guns, toy guns, and like fighting my brothers and cousins, and we would try all the moves afterwards.
Oh yes, we did. Oh, me and my brothers,
we try to do all the different moves and making the sounds, copying Bruce. So when I met Shannon, I was like, I felt like a little girl. I'm like, why be cool, Zara? Be cool. So what was
Bruce was an icon. Bruce is an icon. I mean, that's a whole different level. I got to meet Muhammad Ali, and that's the one time I was just kind of like, oh my God.
Just touch me, bless me, bless me.
And it was a thing where I was getting to take a picture with him and whatever, and he's like, come here. I'm like, and he's like, you ain't so bad. I was like, oh my God, he just did my face. And so, I framed those pictures.
Like, please do that again, sir.
You know what I mean? It was incredible. He was a big idol. So meeting him, that was like, I'm meeting a legend.
A legend, an icon. Because he's more than just being a boxer. It's what he symbolized. And it was the same with Bruce Lee. It's what they symbolized and what they stood up for.
Larger than life. Yeah. They were, incredible. The difference is when I'm in a scene, for example, with her, I'm playing her husband. Yeah. And we're in a scene together. And so it's about, once again, the character. And so all of that other stuff, I don't spend time thinking about it. I spend time going, okay, what are we happening? And she was wonderful. She was very giving, and we were locked in. We did this whole thing where, because of her, my character, like, he was her ex-husband who ended up in jail because of her, and that sort of thing, right? It was a beautiful movie, beautiful show. And it was fantastic working with her, and our director, he was tremendous, and Chris Thompson, and it was just, when you're in those kind of scenarios, you're in the scene with this person, you don't have time for all that fanfare and all that sort of thing.
Because you're like so dropped in.
You drop into your character.
But do you
and you
feel
play
the pressure because you're like, oh my God? Yeah. The Basic Instinct scenes are running. They would be through my mind.
Your mind. But you can't. If you get caught up in that, then you're probably gonna mess up. You're gonna mess up. You're right. You know what I mean? So I don't generally do that. I'm more just kind of like, hey, they're people too. We're all people, and so that's part of it. We're all people. We all have our good and our bad, and we all have our moments, and so
that's beautiful. That's a great mindset. Yeah. You were born in Jamaica.
Yes.
Do you go back often?
For a while there, I went back all the time, but I have not gone in quite a while. I haven't gone back in quite a while. We've been going to a lot of different places, but I do need to get back to Jamaica soon.
Because I'm sure that going there would probably be a very grounding experience because it's so removed from this world here. I've always wanted to go there.
Well, you should go.
Yeah.
Stella got her groove back, so maybe you can.
I can get my groove back. Well, I grew up in Pakistan, so cricket was, our game there. So in the
West Indies, that was great cricket team. Yes.
Brian Lara.
Yes. See, you know. Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
like, I was like an all-rounder. Like, I grew up playing cricket.
What?
And yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So, like, the ball. I
Yeah.
was I did a bit of everything.
You did everything. Well, you do.
Kind of like me now. I do a bit of everything. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sure
yeah.
cricket is like such a game over there.
It's
like,
a huge game there.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun, and we'd make up our own little wickets with just whatever we could
Did you play
find.
cricket? Do you play cricket?
Back in the day we did.
Yeah.
And I played rugby as well,
Oh.
right? Yeah, scrum half, right? So I played. We did those very British things, right? Yeah. So,
Yeah,
yes.
we can go down that
We
rabbit
won't-
hole.
we won't even touch that
We won't
hole.
even touch that. Yeah, no, completely.
Yes.
Okay, so was there a particular movie that you watched before you even got into acting that you're like, oh my God, I want that to be my life, or something that really stuck with you
Yeah.
before you even got into the acting world? Like
Yeah.
a movie that because so later on today, we're interviewing Byron Mann, who studied law and philosophy, and he did his bar exam, and then got into
Yeah.
So, but people have watched movies or read
Yes.
books that really stood with them, that moved them, and now you get to do that. You get to
Yeah.
help. Like when I go to cinema or when I'm watching a show like
Yeah.
Continuum or Coroner or like The X-Files, I get to escape my world
Yeah.
and get into this world
True.
and have a bit of that reprieve. So did you watch something like a TV show or a movie that
Movie.
like inspired you or left a mark on you?
Definitely, I have to say, watching Denzel Washington in Glory.
Ah,
I still remember to this day where he was doing the scene where he's getting beaten, and then just that tear just came down his cheek, and it was kind of like, wow. I mean, that was a powerful moment, and he's inspired me a few times. I mean, in the movie Crimson Tide, him and Gene Hackman. That's what we talk about, being locked into these two characters. That if you didn't have these great actors in a movie like that, it'd be kind of a silly movie because it's not gonna, the world's not gonna blow up or anything like that. And so you're like, but what was engaging with these two men playing like psychological chess with each other and playing off each other, and watching that was just like, oh my God, I'm just riveted, just going, wow. And so yeah, that Glory was for the earliest one that just made me go, wow.
you
That's
could
incredible.
do that work.
Oh,
Yeah,
if you can do
Denzel
that.
is like
Yes.
his voice, his just everything
Yeah.
about him.
And
Yeah.
and Sidney Poitier, I mean, his whole journey. I've read his autobiography, watched him, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and to Sir with Love, to all of it. Just watching what that man was able to do at a time where, a black man, generally speaking, where they had him doing a lot of step and fetch it and that sort of thing, and the dignity with which he
So
did
graceful.
his thing, and amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a hero to me. He's a
Yeah.
hero to me. He is the ultimate for me, Sidney Poitier.
So much elegance. And,
Yes.
I was actually a little while ago, sometimes I go down the rabbit hole and then I will just watch all their interviews,
Oh.
all the behind the scenes or like old clips, just for like an inspiration.
Yeah.
Because I love getting into the mind of like why does this person do what they do and like what really truly inspires them. So our show is called The Inspired Life. And I love asking everyone, where do you draw inspiration from?
Where do I draw inspiration from?
What inspires you in life?
So many things. I'd say starting with my boys, my kids. I have two wonderful boys, and watching them grow. My oldest one just graduated, and now he's starting a whole new chapter in his life. And my younger one, he's the wild man, and he's always just kind of like, rah, just going full gusto, and I'm like, wow, okay. Sometimes you need to charge through life a lot and just do that. But honestly, I think that's a big part of it, but it's also just, I would love for this world to get past a lot of this BS that we're going through right now. I would like to think that there are more good people than bad people. And I love being around good people. And so if I can do something to add positivity to that world and help be a part of the solution instead of just complaining about it all the time, that it would be a great thing. And so I'd like for, more of us to find more good people, surround ourselves with good people, listen to each other, talk to each other, become better for it. And if you do, so sometimes people don't even realize they're negative or doing bad things, if you will, until they talk about it. And then all of a sudden you go, oh my God, I was very shallow in my way of thinking about this. So if you can do good, do good.
Love that. What do you do for self-care? Because, with the work you do, it does take a toll on your body.
Yes.
It can on your mental health as well.
Yeah.
When you're traveling a lot and you're working long hours that, like you said, can be very physically draining. And I know with the little experience that I've had is when you're doing the long hours, it's not just the physical, but it's also the emotional.
Yeah.
And if you're out of town, whether your family is coming with you or not, what are you doing for your own self-care?
For the longest time, it was like I'd go to the gym. As much as weird as my sound after a long day, whatever, if you go to the gym, it really just helps me release and get out of my own head and be very immediate. Or I've started doing yoga a few years ago, and I love that because you can just roll out your mat and do yoga in your hotel room or wherever you are. And I do that a lot. Or I'll go play ball or do something like that. I always like to do something more physical, if you will. And then, of course, I go get my massages. And, gotta get pampered and that sort of thing. It's true. You need it.
I'm glad that a guy can talk
need
about
it.
pampering.
You gotta pamper yourself a little bit. Get a little facial. Get some massage. There's nothing wrong with that. And so I'll do it all. I'll try all of that. And of course, just being around your loved ones, being around good people, and take care of them. They take care of you.
You were mentioning that you did martial arts even before you started acting.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Like, are you still doing martial arts?
I haven't really been training, but I mean, back when I grew up wrestling. That was my thing through school. And then my younger brother and I first went to this karate school and tried some Hapkido. And that was kind of like the first time I really got into it, and I loved it and did that for a while. Then later on, before we went to China, we tried some Kung Fu, and it was Hung Gar. And then when we were in China, we were trying Bagua Kung Fu, which was all based on the circular principle, and that was my favorite of all the different martial arts, is because it's completing a circle. And so even like someone throws something, you deflect it and bring it back to them. So it's it's complete. It's complete, and it's not about brute force, right? When you're younger, it's easier, especially with karate, like a lot of breaking, and it's there. But with this, it's more, I guess, similar to Tai Chi in a sense that it's more about the flow. And so I love that. And so, yeah.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
To my younger self, buy more property in Vancouver. No, yeah,
right? Like, go back in time.
Go back in time.
This and Coquitlam and Whistler, everywhere.
You know what I mean? Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Advise, I'd say just treasure the moments. Treasure the moments. Treasure the moments, because they're going to be gone. And so you're like, look back here, oh my God, that was an amazing time. So, yeah.
Love that. Is there, you live in Vancouver, split time in LA, you're in Toronto, you're traveling everywhere. When you're in Vancouver, what do you love the most about Vancouver?
I love this view. I love the fresh air. I love how outdoorsy we are. We'll go for hikes or we'll go for walks, and it's just, you get here, you can breathe. It's a beautiful city. It's a beautiful city. And yes, it'll rain, but you're all right. You put on a raincoat, you're good. It keeps the air fresh.
And just one last question before we let you go. If anything could happen, anything is possible, what kind of character would you like to play? It could be like, I don't know, in the future, on a different planet. It could be in the past.
Yeah.
and any actor that you would like to work with?
I've always wanted to do the Muhammad Ali story. Yes, Will did a version of it, but I don't think it was a complete version because it didn't even tell you why he got into boxing and things like that. So that was always something I wanted to do. And a character that I voice Green Lantern for the different DC movies for a few years. But what I would love to do is the live action version of Green Lantern, because it's a story that's written for the cinema. It's a story that's there. You know, here's a guy that was a war hero in a wheelchair, angry with life, gets this thing to make him basically omnipotent. And so imagine the frustration of being here, and then and so then if you have to go back to being in a wheelchair from after having all that power, it's very cinematic, and it's a great story that's right there and that should have been done before. But hopefully that'll get done. That would have been an amazing thing. And I would love to before, you don't think he's doing much right now with Sidney Poitier to, work with that man. That would be magical. That'd be great.
Beautiful. Well, anything is possible. I believe that. I mean, your life, the work that you've done, it shows that anything is possible. Now, this is truly the last question.
Okay.
What advice would you give to a young actor starting out, or it doesn't even have to be a young, anyone who wants to be an actor? What advice would you give to them?
Get to know yourself. Get to know yourself, the good, the bad, the ugly. Figure out what you can accept. Change the things you can't. Right? If you really want to change something, change it. If not, go, okay, that's me, but get to know yourself and be honest with yourself. Because that'll take you a long way and be able to portray other people and their emotion and what they do if you know truly who you are and what makes you tick.
Love that. Love that. Thank you. You know, you should also narrate like books. You have such a good voice. Your voice is very I'm listening to what you're saying, and Loki's just wanting to come and kiss your feet right now. Roger, thank you so much for taking the time. This was truly inspiring, and
Thanks for
I'm sure
having me.
afterwards I'll be like, I want to talk about this and this and this. You know, we could talk for hours.
We could.
Thank you so much. I truly appreciate you. Appreciate you taking the time today. Know you're really busy. You're about to start another exciting project. And, before you fly off somewhere else, I was like, we have to bring you on the show. So thank you.
Thanks for
made
having
it
me.
our second last day of filming here. And if you felt inspired today, please do make sure to get in touch. Thank you so much for tuning in and for watching. Okay, T-Dot. Loki can come in.
Hi.
Oh my God, Loki! I know. Oh, we got the
my
zoomies.
goodness.